Hey, David Rafhoff here. In today's video, I want to look at a number of news stories that are kind of starting to all tie together pretty closely. One of those is that inflation's at a 40-year high of around 7% change in the consumer price index. Another is the individual components of that, so different things that are going up in price, and then also how that ties in with COVID and spending, as well as the Great Resignation. So all these things are tied together. I'm going to kind of go through that in this video. So let's get started here. So we can see from this recent CNBC article that inflation surged 6.8% in November, more than expected, the fastest since 1982. And if you're not familiar with it, the consumer price index is just a price for a basket of goods and services that most people buy and how that changes over time. And what it's meant to measure is your purchasing power. So if it falls 10%, you've lost 10% of your purchasing power. It's actually a bit worse than that because you have to increase what you make enough so that after you're taxed on it, you have an equivalent amount of purchasing power. So that's another 20 or 30% worse than is reported. The other thing, without getting into too much politics around it, is just there's an incentive to make this number look better than it is, and economists have freedom over what they choose to include or not in that basket of goods and services for the consumer price index. So I'm just going to look at how prices have changed kind of over the last year on a few things. And I'm sure you felt seeing in your daily life that like the prices of almost everything you're buying have gone up significantly. So if we just take a look at the most recent numbers we have for gasoline, and this is really a proxy just for like cost of energy. So even if you're not putting gasoline in your car, every product that you buy, the components that go into that have to get shipped to wherever they're made or trucked to wherever they're made, and then that has to get distributed to wherever you're buying it. So gasoline goes into cost of gasoline gets factored in everything. So in November of 2021, the average price of gas is currently around $3.50. If we go back a year to November of 2020, you can see it was $2.20. So it's up by more than 50%. And again, that's a problem because that gets factored into literally like almost everything that you buy has that as a input cost at least, and also probably a distribution cost. Another thing that's interesting to look at is the food price index. I'm sure there's lots of different ways to measure this, but this was a convenient one. So if you look at roughly over the last year, this is going from beginning of 2021 to close to the end of 2021, we're up about 20%, a little less than 20%. So yeah, all the food you're buying is 20% more expensive. I've seen some crazy things. Just this is an average, so certain things that you're buying are going to be up more, certain things are going to be up less. But there's some staples that my family buys that have gone up 20% even in the last couple months. So I think this isn't going to be an exact. This isn't going to translate exactly to your specific purchases, but roughly, on average, it's up about 15-20%. The other one that's really interesting is used car prices. So they've gone up, I think, the fastest since they've gone up since 1975 in a year. Used car prices are up 30% in the last 12 months, leading up to May. So I think this article is a little older, but yeah, this is from the summer. But what's interesting there is used car prices go down normally, not up. So it's not the change is not 30%. It's probably more like 40-50%. And I've just anecdotally heard stories of people I know who've purchased cars from dealerships and within the last year and a half, and the dealerships are calling them back and offering them more money than they paid when they purchased the car, which is really insane. So a really bad time to try to buy a car. And then we're going to hop over here and we're going to look at something else, which is historical home prices, monthly median value. It's basically going back to the 50s, but we're just going to look at the last year. So the most recent numbers reported are from August, and what we have is, well, reported beginning of August. So the median home value is 342 grand. If we go back a year, it was 304 grand. So again, you can see things have gone up, roughly 12 to 15% for housing prices. And again, some of this is from just the currency getting devalued, because as we print more dollars, the pool of dollars still has the same worth, so it's diluting the value of a dollar. Cynical people say that it's the easiest way for the government to steal from everybody is to just dilute the value of the dollar. Anyway, your purchasing power is decreasing pretty quickly here. 12 to 15%, something like that. And everybody's got to have a place to live. So even if you rent, you're renting somewhere where the value of the property has gone up and they can charge more in rent. This is kind of looking at the basics that get tracked in real time. So we're looking at, energy, food, transportation, housing. No matter what we're looking at, it's somewhere between 12 to 20% is kind of normal, but some things are up significantly more, 30, 40, 50%. And so what this means is basically you're losing purchasing power. You're getting a pay cut, more or less, is one way to think about it. And smart people are realizing this, and so recently, a group of employees at Google asked Google, which just had one of its record months of profit or quarters of profit. They just asked Google to give them a pay raise to match inflation, and it was a pretty resounding no. So they're not going to raise wages to keep up with inflation. And what's interesting about this is the labor market's super tight right now. So even places like fast food chains, they're having trouble hiring enough people to keep them open. And it's a mix of different things going on. Obviously, some of it's COVID and people not wanting to work. Some of it's people being able to make good money or better just from the different programs that are out there to help people who can't work or don't want to work or whatever. And some of it's just, people have been at their current employer probably through all of COVID and, been unable to make a change. And so people who would normally have left during that period, we may be seeing a lot of those people all leaving kind of at the same time, now that at least it looked like things were kind of winding down with COVID this summer. And some of it is just people realizing that because the labor market's tight, if they leave and they go somewhere else, they can get a pretty sizable increase in their pay, hopefully at least enough to offset what's going on with inflation and losing buying power. So that's why I mentioned at the beginning of this video that, and if you haven't seen articles on it, this is called the Great Resignation. There's just a record number of people leaving their jobs right now. And there's some great articles about why, but almost all of them point back to either people who've just retired, left the workforce entirely. There's different definitions of that. That can mean people who've retired or just people who haven't looked for a job in the last 12 to 18 months. I'm not sure which one they're using here. But yeah, this article is showing that 1 in 4 workers quit their job this year, which is crazy. And then the common reasons that are cited for that are job security and then better pay is top concerns. So I'm a little skeptical of this job security one. I'd have to understand that better, but why would you leave your job if you're worried about job security? So my inclination is to think it's all pay related or mostly pay related, I should say. Um, so yeah, anyway, there's all these threads that are tying together. There's printing money, our low interest rates. Those two things encourage inflation. That inflation is leading, just naturally leading to everything costing more. That's basically what inflation means, and losing buying power. Across the board, we're seeing it with energy, food, transportation, housing, the things that we all spend a lot of money on. I'm sure if you've gone to the grocery store or restaurant recently too, you've noticed that prices are up 10% easily over what they were at the beginning of the year. And then with that, we're starting to see more people move around, look for jobs in a tight labor market too, trying to get raises or find a new job that pays more to keep up with the inflation that we're seeing happening. And so that's leading to this great resignation that we keep hearing about in the news. So yeah, anyway, I hope that was interesting and helpful to figure out how some of these things fit together. If you have any questions or comments, I'd love to hear those. So post a comment down below. Let me know what you think's going on. Is it better than I'm describing? Is it worse than I'm describing? If you're interested in seeing more videos like this, hit the subscribe button, and then if you want to be notified when they come out, hit the little bell to get notifications. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.